Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Wednesday, April 1st. This is our daily NBA show that we're doing with Troy West from allplayswin.com, who gave us a nice pick winner last night with the Brooklyn Nets minus the points. And tonight we have a 12-game card. A lot of things I think I'm seeing I'm liking. First, we'll analyze the card, then we'll get to the picks. Troy West, thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks a lot, Pete. I appreciate it. Yeah, God, this NBA, nothing is ever concrete.
No.
Brooklyn up 18 at the end of one, and then before I could even enjoy it, they were losing going into late second quarter, but nonetheless a win. And looking forward to this card, like you said, Pete, great NBA card today.
12 games, and there's a bunch that I want to ask you about. The first one, let me ask you about Brooklyn and the Knicks, right? Now, the Knicks have been awful. We know that. What's the record? 2-8 against the spread over the last 10, right? They've been terrible. They've been repeatedly getting blown out by double digits. They're just one of these teams at the end of the year that's terrible. It looks like they're also overvalued. The Nets are fighting for a playoff spot, though. They're 6-2 against spread over their last 10, but they are on a back-to-back, and if there's one game the Knicks are going to get up for, it's this one, right? They're on their home court. They're against their rival. They don't want Brooklyn to come in and just wipe the floor with them, get an easy win here. Maybe Brooklyn probably does pull it out, but if there's one game the Knicks can get up for, it's this one. They are rested. They're getting 10 points. Do you think it's possible, despite being 2-8 against spread over the last 10, that the Knicks plus 10 might be a good play?
That's funny you bring this game up, Pete. I have a rule with the Knicks. If you're even going to take a shot with the Knicks, I feel like you're almost better off taking a shot on the money line at those odds, because you just never know what you're going to get from them. They either show up, seem to win the game. I've seen them a couple of times as a 13, 14-point dog, one time against the Pistons, and they win the damn game outright, or they lose by 20, 25 points. So the inconsistency of the Knicks, and like you said, are they going to get up for this game? You would hope so, but my God, that's such a gamble in itself. To me, it's a pass. I can see where you're coming from. Absolutely, the Knicks at home, in-state game, but I got to pass on this one. The Knicks just never a good thing when your money's on the New York Knicks.
Then another one that's interesting is Dallas and OKC, right? OKC's a curiously small home favorite. It's actually gone down a little bit. I was seeing 2.5 on the overnight. Now it's OKC minus 2. And Dallas is struggling, right? They're 3-12 against the spread over their last 15. Ellis, I believe, is out. He's banged up. At OKC, Westbrook's been carrying the team. They're 7-3 against spread over their last 10. Why is this line so small? And is OKC minus 2 maybe a good play?
Actually, I did just go over the injury report, Pete, and Monta Ellis is going to play tonight. Okay. So I think that has a pretty good impact on it, and I think that's why the line is where it's at.
Okay, there you go.
Dallas, another one of those teams, just extremely inconsistent as well, Pete. They either seem to be a really good bet, or you see what they did and they fall flat on their face at Indiana. Again, Oklahoma City to me is kind of a tricky team as well. They've just overachieved, and it's been strictly from the play from Russell Westbrook. Westbrook's just been absolutely outstanding. To me, he's the MVP of this league. Mm-hmm. So is he going to go off for 40, or is this a game where Dallas really clamps down on him? It's a tough bet, but I could see Oklahoma City. They're always a good bet at home, but no official play, but my lean would be on Oklahoma City if I had to bet it.
All right. I'm also thinking about going with the under in that one. It's a high total, 216, and I know that OKC has been playing really high scoring games over the past bunch of weeks, although the last two games were both unders and relatively low scoring. I'm thinking that, could easily see this one going to like 209 or 212. But, with all the injuries that both teams are having, I'm thinking maybe the under 216 might be a play. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, if I had to lean on a total side, Pete, I would agree with you there. 216, my God, it's a lot of points. That's asking a tall order from both teams to score a lot of points. If one team goes cold, then you're a sure winner there. But a lot of talent on that floor, in Oklahoma City we know can score points in a quick hurry. So tough one, but if I had to lean on it, I would agree with you on the under as well.
All right, and then what's your take on the Clippers? The Clippers are on a back-to-back. They're coming off of a game where they had a big lead over Golden State, and then they wound up blowing the lead and losing the game outright as a small home favorite. Now they go on the road. They're a 2.5-point underdog at Portland, and even though they're on a back-to-back, the Clippers they're still 5-2 against spread over their last 7, playing really well. And is this maybe a situation where you have a good team off a loss playing the very next day, and you want to bet them on a bounce back, and as a small road underdog, probably the public might be leaning towards Portland here? You think the Clippers might be due for a bounce back? Is this a good spot for them?
They could be. I do think that loss was was deflating for them last night, Pete. They had that game for 3.5 quarters, and Golden State just came roaring back and took care of business. So it scares me a little bit that they would have somewhat of a hangover from that game. Portland never an easy place to play, actually one of the tougher places to play in the NBA. So it's a stay away for me because, like you said, the Clippers have been playing good up until that loss last night against Golden State. But Portland, a really, really tough home game, and this is somewhat of a playoff matchup, Pete. Yeah. These are two teams that could easily meet in the playoffs, so I'm going to stay away from it, but I could see the Clippers being good value.
Well, every game on this card is interesting. Before we get to the picks, I just want to ask you quickly about two. Toronto was an 8-point road favorite at Minnesota on the overnight, so now they're up to 9.5, and Toronto's gearing up for the playoffs. They're trying to play well, and Minnesota is basically just cooked, right? The coach and the team are both admitting, or everyone's admitting that they're tired, that they're spent, they have a ton of injuries, so they're only suiting up 7 or 8 players each night or whatever it is. They are rested for this one. They're not on a back-to-back or anything. But, is Minnesota one of these teams, kind of like we were talking about the Knicks earlier, except this isn't a game where they're particularly motivated, where they're bad, they're weak at the end of the year, and they're even worse than it appears that the market's giving them credit for, and that even as an almost 10-point home underdog, they're worth a fade anyway.
Boy, they have been terrible. There's without a doubt, and they've been the team that I've liked to fade most of this season. And you think with the young talent that they have, they could get something going, but they haven't. Toronto has been extremely inconsistent as well. But Pete, if I had to bet this one, I would be on Toronto. I just think Toronto more talented. They're gearing up for the playoffs. And as you said, a team that's just really fade material right now in Minnesota. So even at that high number, I could see a 13, 14-point win by Toronto.
All right, yeah. And then before we get to the picks, Philly was an 11.5-point underdog on the overnight line. And that's had me scratching my head a little bit. The Wizards are having some serious problems on the court offensively. They've lost 6 in a row against the spread, and Philly's actually kind of playing a little bit scrappy right now. They're 5-3 against the spread over their last 8. They've got Noel and Ish Smith, who are kind of youngsters who are sort of playing to establish themselves. They've got a little bit of life in them. I thought 11.5 was a little bit too high, and I did bet that one a little bit. And so far, the market has agreed with me. It's now down to 10. And I'm thinking, why should they be a double-digit underdog here, even though they're on the road, against a team that's struggling as much as Washington is?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, Pete, where Washington, another team really gearing up for the playoffs. It's time for them to start playing better basketball. Will that happen tonight against a bad 76er team? That I can't answer, but I think that's why that line is where it's at, is the capability of the factor that the Philadelphia 76ers are a terrible road team. But like you said, they have shown some life. They are playing better. It's a lot of points in the NBA. I could definitely see even a backdoor cover in this one, but boy, it's a tough line.
All right, well, thanks for your thoughts, Troy West. Now let's get to part 2 of today's call, the picks.